Let me tell you something. I'm a sick man. There is no Nintendo rumor I won't believe. Tonight I'm talking about rooting for a video game. You know, cheering it on, and sometimes you cheer on a game even though it's not really your thing. You just want to show support, or half support anyway. Go get them. Proud of you, but also, I got other stuff to do. And that's where I'm at with Baldur's Gate 3. And what's unusual about this game in particular is that it's a shift. My first impression of the game was not positive. I've gone from not caring about this at all to actively being personally invested in its success. And really, it feels like I'm behind, right? It feels like Baldur's Gate 3 is already enormous. Catch up, Kyle. And so it's strange. I don't know how to talk to you. I don't know what you know. I don't know anything about you, quite frankly, but I don't know how much you know about Baldur's Gate. So let's just get everybody on the same page. Let's all presume you know nothing, like I did 24 hours ago. Baldur's Gate is a classic franchise, despite its unappealing title. It uses the rules and world of Dungeons and Dragons to make a computer game as close to the freeform experience of tabletop gaming as possible. People will tell you it's good. But then you look at it, and it looks like this.
Yes, I see.
And I've always said, okay, good for you, you PC classic. You are a straightforward fantasy game with tiny little people. That's two of my deal breakers, unfortunately, but to everyone who has fond memories of clicking around in that little world, happy you were able to enjoy yourselves. Good for you. So in 2019, when Baldur's Gate 3 was announced, that was a big deal, but not to me. I don't even remember that being announced. And nothing happened in this trailer that would make somebody who doesn't care. But the reason to be interested, person who doesn't know Baldur's Gate, is that the studio developing this game just finished the critically acclaimed Divinity Original Sin 2. Well, I mean, look at that. That is acclaimed. What does this game look like? It's another straightforward medieval fantasy tiny people game. Yeah, enjoy yourselves on your miniature RPG adventures. I'm good, but please, by all means. And at this point, I know I'm being overly snobby about small video game characters. You know that weird Venn diagram that bosses like to show off? They say cheap, good, or fast. You pick two. Nothing exists in the middle. In video games, there's always been something kind of similar to that with storytelling. If you want lots of narrative choices, you either have to give up on being cheap or having big people. Big people in this instance, just meaning close-ups and cutscenes. Just the performance capture that comes with that, and the cinematography and the lighting and all of the audio considerations. And so, yes, a lot of CRPGs that have a lot of narrative choices end up sacrificing big people. And I know this sounds crazy. I know this is not a defensible, logical position. But I've just never in my life been able to really care about a video game character who is tiny on the screen. And then you hear from people who are like, look at this. This is my half-elf cleric, Shuixi Hogranda. She is the most daring, provocative protagonist I have ever had the pleasure of piloting in the interactive medium. I can't get it, man. Call it lack of imagination, call it lack of microscopic empathy, but I just can't care for anything that small, screen size-wise. So back to Baldur's Gate 3, it hit early access in 2020, and I was happy to be completely unaware of that fact. Just doing my own thing, Baldur's Gate doing its own thing, building its own audience. I don't think I truly saw the game until this summer, until its Summer Game Fest trailer. And it's not a good trailer. It's boring, it's pretty poorly paced, weird vibes, but I was surprised to see big people. It seems as though, faced with this classic conundrum, Larian Studios made the unconventional choice of sacrificing the cheapness, relatively. So Baldur's Gate 3 managed to cross off one of my two deal breakers. But still, from that trailer, I I just kind of got the impression that it is still standard fantasy fare. I couldn't tell really what makes this franchise different. What am I supposed to be paying attention to? What makes this game unique? And here again, I'm saying this is a personal deal breaker, right? I know this is a me thing, but traditionally, I just never vibe with like straightforward medieval fantasy. You know, just like dragons, orcs, and elves, and brown leather clothes, and wagons. None of it just ever appeals to me. Look at how Baldur's Gate 3 presents itself. Look at this guy. This is your main guy? I don't get it. I don't get what is supposed to be cool or exciting about any of this. It looks so dorky. But I'll tell you one thing that did perk me up a bit. The game's director was bragging to Kotaku about how you can, at one point in this game, transform into a wheel of cheese. And the appeal to me is not, haha, nice, that's so random. You know, lots of video games let you do fantastical shenanigans. To me, it's this entire paragraph. So you're going to travel as a cheese wheel, and it looks like you're playing Pac-Man. So we're just going to go through the game, and you will 100% accept, and you will 100% understand why you became a cheese wheel. And it will be your agency that causes you to become a cheese wheel, right? But it will still surprise you that that's what happens. Obviously, we probably still won't be surprised when that happens, but that really got me. That is motivated weirdness. And it sounds like Dungeons and Dragons. The game where anything can happen as long as your dungeon master is cool with it. But then, of course, I really feel like Baldur's Gate 3 really started picking up momentum when a certain scene from a live panel hit the rounds. If you're feeling a bit scandalized after having been exposed to that, I should tell you that that was a person who transformed into a bear. So it's not quite what it looks like. Ethically speaking, think about it. Like the ethics of it are, they're good. They're good. But really, the game finally demonstrated, to me at least, what makes it unique. And it's that this game is going all out. Big people doing weird stuff. Deal breakers? Acknowledged. I now knew I would one day stream this video game. That clearly this game will be good Twitch content for a Twitch channel. But at the same time, I wasn't necessarily rooting for it. Right? I'll stream anything.
There's just a big sleepy mama hog out here? Look at its eyelashes.
And so I was writing this video, I was trying to figure out how excited I actually am for Baldur's Gate 3. I was watching the launch trailer, and it's kind of bland. It's kind of embarrassing. At this point, I'm judging. I'm being judgmental. This is a bad trailer. This might be a bad game. But then something happens just before the dramatic fade to black. And I think, wait, what was that hamster? Why would you do that? And then, as if to immediately respond, the tagline appears. It's party time. It's party time. It's a revelation to me. Now I realize it works two ways. There's a bit of wordplay there. Multiplayer is important to Larian Studios. We could talk about that a little more after the credits. But simply this exclamation that it is party time. It feels like a declaration that, hey man, we weren't being serious. We were being serious. We were being sincere. But really, this whole time, this whole thing's just been about having fun. And the clues were there the whole time. Look at the Larian logo. That guy's got a little suction dart on his head. That's silly. Look at Sven Vinke. the director of this game, but also the CEO of Larian Studios, who knows that the cheese wheel path is not cost effective, but approved it because it's fun. One little Bloomberg article, and this man went straight from person I've never heard of before all the way to the ultra rare role model CEO. The hamster was there in the Game Awards CG trailer, and I was just too set in my ways to even see it. So yeah, it's silly. It took a tagline, but now I see the light. I've been converted. It's party time. I am now actively rooting for Baldur's Gate 3's success. Go on, make millions. Go on, influence the industry. Go on, let a man bear hump on TikTok. Go for it. And that is delayed input for this week. Thanks for watching. So there's a bit of gaming news drama regarding Baldur's Gate 3 that didn't quite fit into the episode. And this is that the game's not launching on Xbox at all. There is an Xbox version planned, and it's not the kind of thing where Sony paid for an exclusivity. It is just that, how do I explain this as simply as possible? This game has drop in, drop out, split screen multiplayer. It's very important to Larian Studios. They're all about that. They could not get that functioning to their standards on the Xbox Series S. The S stands for small. The Xbox Series X can absolutely have split screen multiplayer. It works. So one would say, okay, so just cut it out of the Xbox Series S version. Now, Microsoft policy is that any feature that is in a Series X version of a game must also appear in a Series S version of a game. So that's ruled out. And then you might just say, okay, so just don't put it on Series S. No. That policy also says you cannot release a game for Series X without also releasing it for Series S. And then you might say, well, Larian just cut out the split screen multiplayer. And they say, no, that's important to us. We're not going to launch a version of this game without split screen, drop in, drop out multiplayer. So they're in the scenario now where the Xbox version is on hold until an appropriately functioning Xbox Series S split screen mode is implemented into the game. And that might not happen before the end of the year. And this story to me was just kind of a fun, silly thing of like a month ago, right? When I thought that Baldur's Gate 3 was just an unpopular game for nerds. Now that it's become a popular game for nerds, it's an issue, I guess. But to me, it's crazy because there's an obvious solution that I feel like nobody is talking about.
Halt!
This wouldn't be an issue.
Shuixi Hagranda.
Fuck off.
Huh?
Ow!